Hello folks, Jiminy Critic here. I'm not my usual self today. I'm here to do a review for you for a movie I've seen recently. And I'm not, I'm just not even comfortable with my setting here, but just the overall theme of the movie of deaths and, funerals and, well, just a minute. I want to take something to help calm me down a little bit. Just a second here. If you give me a second of time, please. Okay, that might help me a little bit. Well, of course, if you're watching this, you haven't had your funeral yet, but you've been to many funerals, relatives, friends, whatever, and there usually can be a very sad, somber occasion, and this movie is definitely an exception to that. Let me tell you something about this movie, Death at a Funeral. It is a remake, an Americanized remake of a movie that was made in Britain about 2007, directed by Frank Oz. There was a movie called Death at a Funeral, a little bit drier, a little bit more British humor. Well, this particular movie, Death at a Funeral, believe it or not by its title, is a comedy brought to you by Screen Gems. It's directed by Neil LaBute. It is rated R. If that matters, I don't care. For obvious reasons, when you get into the movie, it's about an hour and a half long. Perfect time for this movie again. And let me run down the list of folks that you're going to find in this comedy movie, Death at a Funeral. You're going to get Keith David, Loretta Devine, Peter Dinklage. And by the way, just a little factual note you can keep in your head. Are you involved or not? He is a character that played his character in this movie in the original British version in 2007, plays the same role in this particular movie here, 2010. Ron Glass, and you will know him when you see him. Danny Glover's in this movie. Martin Lawrence, Chris Rock, James Marsden. Tracy Morgan is in this movie. Zoe Saldana, the girl from Avatar, is in this. Should I take off my clothes and hang by the window? Luke Wilson has an appearance here in this movie. Folks, the basic premise of Death at a Funeral with all these funny folks together, and this comedy works. It's funny. Now, I will say this. There's a couple of scenes in the movie that the director decided to expand upon and increase in size from what it could have been, and I'm not so sure I'm thrilled about that, but overall didn't ruin the movie experience for me. So don't worry about the pills. How much can go wrong for a family on the day of, the kid's father's funeral? I mean, right off the bat in this movie, and you've probably seen this in the trailers, Chris Rock asks the funeral guys to open up the casket. He wants to get a look at his dad before the funeral all starts. And right off the bat, he looks in there and goes, Who is that? That's not my dad. The funeral directors brought the wrong body to his house. It's not even his father who's in the casket, who this funeral is for. So can you imagine just starting off a day of a funeral with something like that, and it only gets worse from there? So's that. I just mentioned, Chris Rock and Martin Lawrence are always going to be comedy gold in movies or on stage. But James Marsden puts in a performance in this movie. He's kind of been underrated, been in a number of movies the last 4, 5, 6 years. But he kind of really stands out. And I won't give all the details away. I want you to see his performance for yourself. But he's just willing to go all the way in this movie for comedy and make it funny. This cast of characters did a great job on bringing humor to such a normally solemn occasion. And you won't believe what Peter Dinklage's role is in this movie. You got to see this for yourself. So my recommendation for you from Jiminy Critic is get out there and see the movie Death at a Funeral. Look how big and pretty they are. Whee! Balloons, balloons. I love you, balloons. I just want to hug you. Oh, this is so much fun. And have a few laughs. If you can make sense out of that, and that'll work for you. All that footage will not show up on the internet, folks. Nope.